Alright, Schlockmeister fans. We're going to watch something here, re-review from my previous channel. This is called The Little Dragons. Let's check it out.
Final front kick, jab, reverse punch. Ready? One. Back. Ready? Two.
Two brothers who are in karate class. That's their grandpa, JJ.
I used it only on weekends, and I liked it so much, I sold my home.
Meanwhile, here's another family that's lost
Just give me another Perrier, will you?
in their own camper.
What if I know it's out of character, but maybe you can just sort of glance at the map and try to help figure out where we are.
They end up running themselves off the road. Their camper gets stuck. The girl wanders off. That's Carol. And she runs into this guy. It's Joe Spinell.
On the roadways, that's where she ran off to.
He lives with his brother and mother, Ann Southern.
You all better find out what that's all about. And you all simmer down here.
Listen.
Scare decent folks to death where you behave.
They're going to help him get unstuck.
The road, it'd be worth $50. How's that sound?
That sounds real generous to me. Auntie, pour me up some rockin' down there.
Zach and Woody stop at a campground to eat with JJ.
Carb chip cookies, sesame sticks.
I'm sorry, Grandpa, but I just can't eat this natural shit.
It's got a great vocabulary for a fifth grader, don't you think so?
I'm sorry. I won't say shit anymore.
You know, when your dad was young, we had a system. He used to make up his own cuss words.
What were some of the cuss words you used?
Well, let me see. Souffle was one. You got a lot of usage out of souffle.
He lets them in to see all the new technology he has in here.
Thousands of dollars. Well, it's got everything. Biggest generator is going. CB, 8-track stereo console, microwave oven, trash compactor in the back.
At first,
Carol meets the boys and their grandpa
Come on, get a towel.
at the campground.
You going to the Hootenanny tonight?
Sure, are you?
I want to. I don't know if my parents will let me, though. They never let me do much of anything.
Well, here's the hootenanny they spoke about. Carol wanders back to her camper by herself, and Carl and Nancy are there. And they're going to kidnap her because they know her family's rich.
It wasn't me.
And now she's missing.
Yeah, because Carol wasn't there.
What about the radio and the flashlights?
Well, I found the radio on the ground, outside. I was going to use the flashlight to help Carol find her dumb dog.
Well, Zach, who's the older boy, he seems to have tracked down the kidnappers. But nonetheless, they're able to get Carol into a cave where they're going to hide her across this bottomless pit. So she's trapped in there, and that's where they're keeping her. Mom's not happy with them.
Well, if you think I'm going to spend the rest of my life in jail on account of you two, you just got another thing coming.
Well, it was Yancey's idea. I didn't know.
I'll bet you dimes and donuts those kids aren't lost at all.
Most likely out in the bushes playing grab ass.
Well, thank you very much, Sheriff. You're a real souffle.
Carl drops off the dog back at the kid's camper, and the dog has a ransom note tied around its neck there.
5,000 and the jug is yours. Obviously giving a very subtle line here. Meanwhile, put the dough at the top of Bingham's Point at 3 p.m.
Bingham's Point. They couldn't have picked a better place for them.
Strange donation to my grandson.
Parents come up with the ransom money.
Station 1 to base camp.
Base camp, go ahead.
We have a kid in a karate suit moving west toward the campground.
There's a cliff at the entrance. I went up there. I could look down right on it.
Kincaid's mine.
Kincaid's mine? No way. There's no pit in there.
Gotta be.
Oh, Dad, I know Kincaid's mine as well as I know my own face.
Well, Zach and Woody traded places, so Woody was staying with Carol, but then the kidnappers come back, and by the time Zach comes back with help, they're going to be gone. The authorities don't believe him at this point, but JJ and Zach decide to look on their own.
Look! It's Carol's, I'm positive.
So that's where the kidnappers want the money delivered?
Yes, sir.
Well, we know where, but we don't know how until our money man gets to the top.
Well, the money is dropped off. The Yancey makes short work of him, though. Now, the money briefcase is bugged, and they realize that, so they toss it into a pickup.
They've turned around.
Into the pickup of some stoners.
Where is it?
Well, Zach goes and rounds up a bunch of his other little dragons. They're gonna go rescue her themselves with the help of some bikers he found.
Take them back up to the cave, and
They plan to kill the kids.
blank. They won't never even find them.
Well, just do it fast, that's all. And don't never talk about it afterwards.
Well, Woody managed to break free. Carol, however, is tied up in the back of the car.
I'm free.
Well, no more Mr. Nice Guy.
Yes, you go that way. I'll take your salary.
Well, the little dragons have emerged onto their property. JJ's there too. And the cops finally show up. The end of the movie has the kids getting new belts, and Carol has joined the karate school too. Alright, let's talk about the little dragons. Back in the spring of 1985, I had saved all of our cable guides that we'd had for the previous 3 years or 2.5 years that we had cable. I went through them all and I wrote them down. I said, okay, if these movies ever come back, I'm going to tape them. And there was 143 movies I ended up putting on that list. One of those movies was Little Dragons. The Little Dragons happened to be one of the last movies I was able to track down. Either by taping them off the cable or renting them and copying. Never came back on cable, and nobody in our video stores had the Little Dragons. Eventually, I was able to track down and order a pre-recorded VHS tape. I probably paid about $20 for it, but I was kind of disappointed because the tape itself was censored. There's a couple times where the young kid, Woody, I think his name is, says shit, and they bleeped it out. It was just kind of cut out. Interestingly, though, I had taped it off of USA Network once, and USA Network let the word shit in, at least one of the shits. So anyway, and in fact, if you look on on Wikipedia and read about this movie, they do mention there's a couple different versions out there, one where they say shit, one where they just bleep it out. But anyway, the movie itself, Little Dragons, it's about this little girl, she's probably about 13 years old, goes camping with her parents. They have this really fancy camper because they're very wealthy. And they run into some hillbillies, basically, one of which is Joe Spinell. And he lives with his brother and their mother, played by Ann Southern. Well, they help them when their camper goes off the road, they help them, but they realize how rich they are, so they decide to go back, sneak into the campground later, and kidnap her. Meanwhile, there's these two boys, these karate boys, Zach and Woody, who hang around with their grandpa JJ, who has a little camper. They're camping at the same campground, apparently. And the older boy kind of hits it off with Carol, but Carol gets kidnapped, so he tries to help and track him down, and he actually is able to find her. she's trapped in a cave. They're keeping her there as a ransom. I think $25,000 is what they were looking for. Well, Woody shows up too, and Zach says, "Hey, Woody, stay with her. I'm going to go get some help." So he goes to get some help. Meanwhile, while they're gone, the kidnappers come back and they steal not only Carol, but they also steal Woody and bring them back to their shack somewhere in the middle of the woods. Well, the police are kind of bumbling idiots. They don't really help a whole hell of a lot. A drop-off point is made to drop off the money, and they do that, and then they knock out the cop. And the suitcase with the money in it is bugged, though, and the kidnappers realize this, so they toss it into the back of another pickup truck. So now the authorities have no idea where the kidnappers are. But Zach and Woody somehow figure it all out where they all are. In fact, JJ does too, their grandpa. Zach and Woody round up a bunch of their karate friends, and they all take off into the woods, heading towards this shack, where they ultimately get into a fight with the two kidnappers, and they knock them out. JJ helps out too. And they knock them all out just as the authorities arrive, and everybody's saved and everybody's happy. Our movie ends with the boys getting some new belts from their karate school, and Carol has joined the same karate school too. That's it. The Little Dragons was the name of their karate dojo, I guess you could say. Not Cobra Kai, but Dragons. So anyway, that's our movie. Now, I have this actually on 2 different DVDs. This one was put out by Wham! USA, which sometimes does a lot of I don't want to call them bootlegs, but they're not the best copies generally. However, this one was better looking than I thought. There's some places where the colors are really faded. Obviously, this hasn't been remastered or anything like that. But this movie does have the word shit in it. Like 4 times the kid says shit, so that's good. I actually found that movie earlier under this title, Karate Kid. It's one of these thin, like dollar DVDs you can sometimes find in grocery stores. This version, the picture quality is much worse, and the word shit is censored out of it. So you don't want Karate Kids USA. You want the original, The Little Dragons. Now, this movie came out in 1980, although IMDb says 1979. However, it's clearly this was filmed a few years earlier than that, because the older kid would have been 17, the girl would have been 15 in 1980, and they weren't that old. It was probably filmed around 1977, 76 maybe, who knows. But anyway, the movie itself, I enjoyed it. It's not a great movie by any means, but I don't know, there's something, maybe it's just nostalgia about this film, I don't know, but I enjoyed it, and I would definitely watch it again. I'll probably put this in every few years or so, because I think it's kind of fun. So that's it. But anyway, that's The Little Dragons. I will leave a link on Amazon down below if you're looking for it. It's pretty tame family fare, if you ask me. Oh, by the way, the mother of the girl here, Carol, I can't think of what her name was. I think it was Sherry Clark. She was a Playboy Playmate of the Year, 1971 or 2, one of those years. But anyway, yeah, Sherry Clark, I think was her name. So anyway, that's it. Check it out. Let me know what you think about it, and go ahead and click that link and buy it, because it's kind of a fun movie. Check it out. Bye. Little Dragons!